with Democrats coming out and protesting Republicans and saying all this stuff, and there's no people behind them. Two things happened. The signs that they have, you'll notice there are these rallies, and everybody seems to have the same sign. They're printed from a print shop. Yeah, that's paid for by nonprofits and by activist organizations. But when you cut funding to these DC-based activist organizations, you're not going to get those signs, and the organizers will get laid off, and they won't be able to go and flyer to create these protests.
So that's what community organizers are?
That's right.
They're people that show up at college campuses to flyer and generate aggravated protesters. Yeah, what about the buses?
So it's got to be a large expense.
So absolutely. And there are AstroTurfed events. They exist. They're just very rare because it's very expensive and it's easy to expose and it's bad PR. So there are organizations that will say, we'll pay you $20 to come to a park event and stand in a crowd, and they'll give you some excuse as to what it is. We're filming a music video, or, it's a rally and we're filming a promo spot, so we need crowd fillers. And people will go and be like, hey, $20 for free, and I get free food, and I ride on a bus. The bus thing, however, in its all sincerity, is same thing. These organizers will say, if you come to the protest, meet us at this place, and we've got buses to drive in. Mm-hmm. They pay, I think it's a couple $1,000s per bus for the day. And then you'll get 5-6 buses, pull up, unload, and people all come out with pre-made signs. Those people aren't paid to be there, typically. They're like, I'm part of the cause. And they have no idea what they're protesting. They don't know why they're there. And if you ask them any intense question about the politics, they'd be like, oh.
Well, I mean, look, one of the things that you'll notice is, obviously, you go to these things, it's somebody that's covered several of these protests over the past few weeks, it's the same people almost every time that you go to. You'll recognize faces. You'll start, it's like the chick in the Luigi hat. She's at every single one of them. And then they have the Elon Musk is a Nazi signs. And I actually confronted one of them the other day saying, what do you mean? What does that mean that Elon Musk is a Nazi? They can't answer the question. They called the police to tell the police to come get me away.
It's a signal to other cult members that this is the bad man and I'm with you.
And that's the thing. It's like you don't necessarily have to pay these people to come out because it gives them this feeling of, oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing something for the world. I'm part of something. Because other than that, they're useless. They're not particularly intelligent people, obviously, and they're trying to fit in somewhere. That's why you have the all the weird trans stuff now. It's like, oh, I can fit into this group now. That's the entire point of a lot of these people showing up. They feel like they're part of something, and they have value at some point.
Yeah. So if you're a bored college kid and you hear that there's going to be a big protest, you're like, I ain't got nothing else to do. But now here's the best part. We're starting to see all these photos pop up where Democrats are standing behind podiums and they ain't got no protesters anymore. Right. And people are saying, that's weird. Why is that?
Right. All the funding's going.
But there is one more thing. Before these layoffs happened, right? And before these people were all put on leave, you had in the middle of the business day, you had federal employees out there protesting in the middle, and that just proves everybody's point. Everybody's point. You can't. And then I think it was yesterday I saw on CNN some chick. I watch CNN because it's comedy at this point to watch these people. And she spends 10 minutes on CNN, a federal employee in the middle of the business day, whining about how much time it was going to take her to respond to this email and think about everything she had to do last week. And I'm like, in the time you spent whining on CNN in the middle of the business day, you could have responded to that email 5 times. It's ridiculous.
It is pretty wild.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was wondering about, too, is people kept going on news shows to complain about having to respond to an email. And I'm like, if my boss came to me and said, tell me 5 things you did last week, I'd be like, I could give you 100, like in 5 minutes.
I can tell you 5 things I did in the last hour.
Right. It's a huge amount of stuff.
Every single time Ian is on this show, when the guests walk in, Ian goes, so what are you working on? Imagine we bring a Democrat in, they're going to go, oh!
Next time that happens, I'm going to protest here. I'll be like, no, this is not fair.
I think a lot of these
asked everybody, and I go, Ian, save it for the show. Like, we want them to explain the stuff they're working on, like, live. And he goes, oh, okay. But it is not strange. Like, if I went to any office, like my friend, if my friend said, hey, you want to come stop by my office and see what's going on? Sure. And I go to the office, and he works in marketing, and there's like, this is my team, this so-and-so, and I'm like, cool. So what do you guys work on? Mm-hmm. Could you imagine? Oh, I can't have time to answer that. Are you joking? What? You're sitting at your computer.
I think a lot of these people felt really insulted too. I think that they didn't like being called out. They didn't like being told to disrupt the chain of command. I think that their pride was insulted in a lot of cases because
absolutely.
It's stupid, but I think that
I think the truth is they just don't do anything.
Well, how much pride can you have by being a sit-at-home mouse wiggler? For the federal government, every 2 hours or so, just wiggle the mouse, you'll be fine.
Otherwise, it'll notify.
Right.
LoJack. I think Elon's play here. Look, man, you know what's funny? These liberals and leftists. I love reading their subreddits. I love reading, watching their shows. It is crazy how low IQ they are. I don't understand. I think it's unfair to say low IQ because maybe they have great spatial reasoning, but they can't comprehend the basic social function. When you play a game of chess, I'm sitting there looking at the board and I say, okay, I'm going to move my knight here. When I do, my opponent has 7 options to try and counter me that I'm expecting, and I base my problem. If he moves here, I'll make move A. If he moves here, I'll make move B. If he moves here, I'll make move C. That's called multi-layered thinking, and that's called planning ahead. Democrats can't understand that. So when Elon Musk says answer the email, and then Kash Patel and Tulsi say to their departments don't, they go, oh, Elon got burned, his plan didn't work. And I'm like, Elon moved a piece, waited to see the response. He will then move the piece again. The plan isn't over. He's not given up. And I think what these people don't realize, because they lack the cognitive capabilities, is that this email test does a bunch of things. It tests whether emails exist. If you don't answer, maybe there's no email. The first thing that's going to happen is he's going to put out an email and he's going to say, respond. People don't respond. They're told by Trump, Tulsi, and Kash, you don't have to. Just ignore it. Red flag to all those accounts. Not to fire them, but it's a red flag. Why? Anybody who is deeply passionate and really care about their job is going to be like, oh boy, like, yo, Elon, hey man, I'm working on this project, man. I need help. I've been trying to get my boss to look at this thing we're doing and he won't listen. Lazy people are going to be like, okay, whatever. Anybody doesn't respond gets a red flag. It doesn't mean you fire them, but now the magnifying glass is on them. Let it be. And the people who deeply care are going to respond being like, finally, please, I've been working so hard on this project.
Or even the people who feel like they don't want to tell you what they're doing because it's classified or whatever would reply with like, I'm working on a whole bunch of things. I can tell you very vaguely, I'm CCing my manager who can tell you more in depth if that's what's needed.
It shows you actually care.
But it's just an email. It shouldn't be that hard.
No, and the people that Tim is pointing the finger at or talking about, why would they assume that Musk would be hostile to the people that their boss, that he is working in conjunction with in the administration? Why would they assume that it's a fight? Like, it's like, oh, they just smacked Elon down. It's like, no, Elon. If you told Elon Musk, hey, the people that have security clearances probably shouldn't send emails to you in unsecured fashion talking about the projects they're working on, Musk would say, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like, it's ridiculous to think that it would be antagonistic.
Kevin, could you, you do contracting and stuff, could you imagine like one of your clients or something being like, hey, I was out of town, what were you working on last week? And just being like, no, I'm not going to tell you. Like,
absolutely not.
I'm going to go on CNN and call him a threat to democracy.
Yeah, we'd go through every day of what I did. I was like, oh, I sanded the cabinets this day, I put the paint on this day. And honestly, I was just thinking, why wouldn't you want like a response from somebody like Elon Musk to like literally help you be more efficient in your projects?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
He mentioned at one point that you might get a promotion.
Yeah,
you might get a promotion,
or a promotion, right? Yeah, if you answer.
They're not going to be adversarial. It's these people that are extremely online and they're ideologically opposed to Trump and Musk just because of their ideology. They're not going to be like, oh man, or Musk isn't going to be like, oh man, this is such a blow to DOGE, and now we should just stop doing what we're doing and blah blah blah. It's like, it's such a ridiculous thing to even think would come up. They're not going to be adversarial. It's just stupid.
Well, you got to think about this part as well. And this is the biggest takeaway that I have from it is, obviously, Democrats lost the plot a long time ago, but you have to think of the Americans sitting at home right now and Democrats making this massive fuss about federal workers having to respond to this 5.2-minute email. What do you think people sitting at home are thinking about this? Do you think they're siding with the Democrats and be like, oh, that's such a shame, these people that I'm paying with this tax? No. What an injustice. That's not what they're thinking.
No.
That's why DOGE's approval rating is so high.
Yeah, and the argument that it's not high, I think that's I don't buy it at all.
There's not a single poll that shows them underwater.
Yeah, and I also think that, you have the pundits and the Democrats freaking out about DOGE, but you don't have, like you guys are saying, you don't have the voters freaking out. And I think the voters aren't freaking out, both Republican voters, independent voters, and Democrat voters, because we all are out here with jobs. We all know what it is to have a job. We know what it is to pay taxes. And most of us are really, those of us who have withholding tax are really sick of seeing all that money just get extracted from our paychecks so that we can continue to have bad roads, trans operas in Peru, and all of these workers who can't even respond to a damn email. Come on.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.